You have been fed a comfortable Sunday school fairy tale. You were told that Satan is locked away in a pit of fire, isolated and drooling a kingdom of flames that the Bible never actually describes. But what if the truth is far more chilling? What if I told you that for eons, the home of the accuser wasn't the abyss, but the very courtroom of heaven? It was down there reigning. He was up there litigating. Stop imagining a monster in a cave. Imagine instead a cold, brilliant senior prosecutor standing inches away from the throne of God. He didn't sneak in. He was summoned. He didn't come to bow. He came to foreclose on your soul. He stood in the presence of holy light to demand the legal right to dismantle your life, using your own sins as his ironclad evidence. This access changed the history of the universe, but here is the question that will haunt your conscience. If the ancient scrolls say that Satan has since been barred from heaven and lost his right to accuse you before God, then why does his voice still scream so loudly in your head every single night? We begin with a scene so jarring it shatters the traditional stained glass imagery of a peaceful heaven. The book of Job opens a window into a celestial assembly, a divine board meeting where the sons of God present themselves before the throne. But look closer. Among the radiant ranks of the loyal host, a shadow emerges, Satan. He is not an intruder breaking through the firewall of paradise. He is a summoned entity, a predatory prosecutor appearing in the supreme court of the universe because he still holds a functional, albeit dark, legal role. Most people read the opening of Job and see a story about a man's patience. They are wrong. This is a high-stakes legal gambit. God looks at the accuser and asks a question that sounds simple but is actually a tactical strike. Where have you come from? Do not be deceived. God is not seeking information. The creator of all things knows exactly where the shadow has been. This question is a jurisdictional boundary. By forcing Satan to answer, God is compelling the accuser to declare his current territory. Satan's response is bone-chillingly cold. From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it. In the original Hebrew context, this isn't a casual stroll. This is a strategic reconnaissance. Satan is an auditor. He is patrolling the planet, looking for a breach in the contract, a lien he can place on a human soul. He is looking for a way to prove that the title deed of humanity still belongs to the abyss. And then the trap is set. God brings up Job. Have you considered my servant Job? This is the moment the Job protocol is activated. Satan's reaction is immediate and visceral. He doesn't just hate Job. He hates what Job represents. Job is a free variable. He is a man who prospers but remains unchained by the material world. This drives the accuser into a frenzy because Satan's entire system of control is based on the belief that every human has a price. He believes that if you squeeze a man's life hard enough, his loyalty to the divine will shatter. Satan's argument is a classic legal motion of insensitivity. He tells God, "Does Job fear God for nothing? You have put a hedge around him. Take it away, and he will curse you to your face." Do you see the psychological warfare here? Satan is claiming that Job's righteousness is a bought commodity. He is accusing God of being a celestial bribe or Job of being a mercenary. This is a direct attack on the integrity of the divine-human relationship. Satan isn't trying to win a bet. He is trying to prove that true love and free will do not exist. He wants to show that the human heart is nothing more than a sophisticated transaction machine that he, as the master of the marketplace of sin, can manipulate at will. And so, the divine trap snaps shut. God grants permission, but look at the ironclad restraint. Everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself, do not lay a finger. This is the controversy that makes modern listeners tremble. Why would God allow this? Because it was a forensic proof. By allowing Satan to dismantle Job's world, his wealth, his children, his legacy, God was proving in the high court of heaven that there is a component in the human spirit that is unhackable. He was showing that Job's identity was not tied to his assets. Satan goes to work with a clinical, destructive efficiency. Storms, fire, and marauders wipe out Job's existence in a single afternoon. Lucifer expects a scream of betrayal. He expects to hear the termination of the contract. But the silence of Job's faithfulness is a deafening roar in the ears of the demons. Even when the second hearing occurs, and Satan demands to touch Job's very flesh, his bone and skin, the limit remains. You may touch him, but you must spare his life. Lucifer thought he was the one seat no collecting the debt on Job's life. He thought he was the predator. He never realized that he was the subject of the experiment. Through Job's suffering, God was exposing the bankruptcy of Satan's logic. He was proving that the accuser has no power over the man who refuses to identify with his possessions. This is the lesson the world has forgotten. Satan doesn't want your money. He wants your agreement. He wants you to believe that your value is tied to your circumstances. He wants you to curse the silence of God so that he can legally claim your soul as his own. But as long as you stand in your integrity, like Job, you are a systemic error in the devil's kingdom. You are the trap that proves the accuser is a liar. If the encounter in the book of Job was a high-level corporate audit, the second scene recorded in Zechariah 3 is a brutal criminal prosecution. This is the moment where the spiritual war stops being about property and starts being about identity. And this is where it hits home for you. Because in this scene, the accuser isn't attacking a man's wealth. He is attacking a man's worthiness. Imagine the scene. The prophet Zechariah is pulled into a celestial vision. He sees the high priest Joshua, the representative of the entire nation, standing before the angel of the Lord. And there, standing at Joshua's right hand, is Satan. He is in his favorite position, the position of the prosecuting attorney. But here is the detail that the polite church never mentions. Joshua, the holiest man of the people, is standing in the presence of the divine wearing filthy rags. In the original Hebrew, the word for filthy is iyim. It refers to the most revolting, excrement-stained garments imaginable. It is a graphic, visceral representation of human failure, trauma, and the stain of the past. Satan doesn't need to lie this time. He doesn't need to invent a charge. He simply points his finger at the visible evidence. He is saying, "Look at him, God. Look at the filth. How can you, the holy judge, allow this stain to stand in your presence? According to your own law, he is disqualified. According to your own holiness, he is debt-ridden and must be foreclosed upon." This is the most heart-piercing tactic in the enemy's arsenal. He uses the truth to destroy you. He uses the very laws of God as a weapon to prove that you are a spiritual bankrupt. He stands in your conscience, pointing at your filthy garments, that mistake you made 10 years ago, that addiction you can't shake, that secret shame, and he demands a legal eviction. He says you have no right to be loved, no right to be heard, and certainly no right to be saved. But then the atmosphere shifts. In the book of Job, God engaged in a dialogue. He asked questions. But here in Zechariah there is no conversation. There is only a sovereign interruption. Before the accuser can even finish his opening statement, the Lord roars, "The Lord rebuke you, Satan. The Lord who has chosen Jerusalem rebuke you." Why the sudden, violent change in tone? Why did God move from dialogue to shutting the mouth of the accuser? Because Satan had crossed the red line of grace. In Job, the accuser attacked a man's sincerity. In Zechariah, he attacked a man's salvation. And God reveals the ultimate hope by legal loophole of the kingdom. Is not this man a burning stick snatched from the fire? God wasn't denying that Joshua's clothes were filthy. He was stating that Joshua was a survivor of the judgment. And then comes the spiritual money laundering ruit yentamlin that should shatter your understanding of religion forever. God commands the standing angels, "Take off his filthy clothes." And to Joshua, he says, "See, I have taken away your sin, and I will put fine garments on you." This is not just a change of clothes. This is a legal erasure of the debt record. In the courts of heaven, God was performing a systemic swap. He took the evidence of guilt and replaced it with the robe of authority. He put a clean turban on Joshua's head, a symbol of restored mental and spiritual power. Satan was standing there with a valid seat, no debt collection notice, based on real sins, and God simply voided the debt. Why? Because the judge decided that the burning stick had suffered enough. This is the controversy that religious legalists hate. God chose to justify the unworthy just to humiliate the accuser. The Zechariah verdict proves that the enemy's strongest weapon, your own guilt, is completely powerless once the judge issues a rebuke. Satan wanted a judgment of condemnation, but he walked out of that courtroom with a judgment of restoration. He realized that he could no longer use the law to trap those whom God had snatched from the fire. Ask yourself, are you still listening to the prosecutor? Are you still looking at your filthy rags and agreeing with the voice that says you are disqualified? Look at Joshua. He didn't clean himself. He stood there, silent and stained, until the Lord did the laundering. Your past is not a lien that the devil can hold forever. It is an exhibit that has been suppressed by the Supreme Court of Grace. The accuser thought he had a slam-dunk case. He forgot that the judge is also the defense attorney. And in the next part, we will see why this access to the courtroom was finally and violently revoked forever. Everything changed on a Friday afternoon at a coordinate called Golgotha. The two scenes we've analyzed, Jabez's audit and Joshua's prosecution, were part of an old celestial order. But Revelation 12:10p records a violent seismic shift in the spiritual hierarchy. For the accuser of our brothers and sisters, who accuses them before our God day and night, has been hurled down. The foreclosure agent has lost his badge. The senior prosecutor has been disbarred from the Supreme Court of Heaven. After the blood of the Messiah was filed as the ultimate debt cancellation, Satan no longer had a legal leg to stand on in the presence of the throne. He was evicted. He was stripped of his celestial access. He can no longer walk into the light to point a finger at your filthy rags. But this is where the war becomes truly dangerous for you, because the accuser is a master of guerrilla psychological warfare. Since he can no longer litigate in the high court, he has moved his operations. He has opened a pocket courtroom tower and boat inside the one place he can still infiltrate. Your own mind. He doesn't need to stand before God to destroy you anymore. He just needs to stand in your conscience. He takes those same accusations, those same no notices, and he whispers them into your thoughts until you start believing they're your own voice. He wants you to become your own prosecutor. He wants you to look in the mirror and say the words he is no longer allowed to say in heaven. Unworthy, disqualified, stained, beyond repair. Do you see the tragedy? You are sitting in a prison cell with the door wide open, clutching a death note that the Supreme Judge has already shredded. You are suffering under a sentence that was overturned 2,000 years ago. A controversy that should make you weep with both rage and relief is this. You are currently convicting yourself using evidence that God has already ruled inadmissible. Every time you and Tim feel the sting of old guilt, every time you tell yourself you can't approach God because you aren't clean enough, you are validating a liar who was fired from his job. You are giving authority to a squatter who has no legal right to your mental territory. Satan's strategy in the 21st century is to make you do his work for him. He wants you to maintain the hedge of guilt that he can no longer demand from God. But the verdict from Zechariah 3:3 still stands over your life. The Lord rebuke you. If the accuser has no access to the throne, why are you giving him a seat at your table? Why are you allowing him to audit your worthiness when the blood audit is already finished? It is time to shut down the pocket courtroom. It is time to realize that the only voice that matters, the last word, has already declared you snatched from the fire. I want to hear from you in the comments. Have you been acting as your own accuser? Are you ready to evict the squatter from your mind? Type "The case is dismissed" if you are reclaiming your identity today. Stop believing the whispers of a defeated prosecutor. The court is adjourned. The rags are gone. The robe is yours. Don't miss our next deep dive into the forbidden archives, where we reveal the angelic counter-strike. Why Rome deleted the war protocols of Michael. Subscribe, activate the bell, and stay awake. The truth doesn't just set you free, it arms you for the fight.